Okay, so we're back. Now, we understand the healing process, and let's talk about my exact 4-phase programming system that works with the healing process rather than against it. Okay? So, what we're trying to eliminate through this 4-phase process is guesswork. Each phase is specifically designed to match what's actually going on in the tissues. So you're doing the right activities at the right time. Phase 1 is normalise. Okay? We're in damage control here. Okay? And your tissue is angry, swollen, painful. Our job is to calm things down, manage the swelling, gently increase range of motion and decrease pain. Okay? Generally speaking, the activities in this phase are low level, maybe some passive movement where I would move the joint for you, or gentle active movements if you can tolerate them. Sometimes, depending on the injury, we may need some level of immobilization, okay, depending on what you've done. But here's the key. We're not just focusing on the injured bit, okay? We're maintaining strength and mobility in everything around that area so you don't lose fitness elsewhere, okay? Phase 2, we're loading and addressing. Okay? Now we're beginning to get more active. We're starting to load the tissue gently. Okay? And we're addressing any deficits that we identified here. Yeah? Maybe you've lost a bit of strength or endurance or a bit of range of motion. Pain and swelling are still important in this phase, okay, and we're using them as markers. But we're moving away from the more passive treatments where I'm doing the thing for you and moving towards more active rehabilitation. Your body's ready to start working now, okay? So we're kind of ramping it up a little bit. Then we're moving into our phase 3, okay? And that's progressive loading. Okay? This is where we start to really build you back up. We're loading those muscles and joints more aggressively now, and we're increasing general strength. But we're also getting smart about what you're aiming to return to. Okay? So for example, if you're a runner, we might start introducing some low-level running movements. If you play tennis, we might be thinking about rotation and power, okay? What we're doing through that is beginning to mimic what your body will need to do when we get back to the activity, okay? But we're still obviously running in line with the healing process, okay? Then, hard to write upside down. We're entering into phase 4, and this phase is return to activity. Okay, you've got your strength back through these phases. We've normalised any deficits that we had addressed or identified as much as possible. Now it's about specificity. Okay, we're maintaining the strength that we've built through these phases, but the real focus is on the activities that we're trying to get back to. So we're increasing the intensity and working on more dynamic movements, force production, making sure that your body can handle the real demands of the activity that you're going to be placing on it. We're also doing specific testing in this phase, throughout the phase. Okay, things like strength testing, functional tests, performance testing, okay, to make sure that you are genuinely ready, not just feeling better or feeling like you're ready, okay. Now, monitoring throughout these phases is absolutely crucial, okay, and the kind of things that we're looking for are pain, okay, so we're looking at those pain levels not to be increasing after things that we do. We're looking at swelling, just put swell, and we're also looking in decreases in function, okay. These potentially would tell us that we're pushing maybe a little bit too hard, or maybe in the initial sort of diagnostic phase through sort of investigations, imaging with on the medical side of things, something might be missed, okay? So we may need to request some further sort of medical or surgical input just to identify if there's anything else sort of undiagnosed that's going on, okay? One thing that runs through all of the phases is cardiovascular training, okay? We want to maintain your fitness throughout this rehabilitation journey, so we keep your other systems optimized, okay? Now, obviously, this looks completely different depending on the individual, okay? For example, if you're an 80-year-old woman or a man and your primary goal is wanting to stay more independent at home versus your competitive athlete returning to sport, the activities and the functional demands are completely different. So the intensities of these activities are going to be completely different to match the activity that we intend on returning to, okay? That's why the initial assessment and the goal setting and understanding your journey and what you're trying to get back to is so important, yeah? We need to know where we're going so we can put a plan in place to get you there effectively, okay? So this is very individual, but this is the 4-phase process that we would go through to optimize the healing process, okay? So in the next video, I'm going to talk about some common mistakes that people make through this rehabilitation process and how to avoid them to ensure that we don't get back into this injury cycle. So keep an eye out for that last video, and I'll see you there.